Welcome to the Xperience podcast featuring interviews with up-and-coming entrepreneurs and business leaders. Join host Brian Weatherford as we peel behind the curtain into the motivations, tools, and strategies used by successful business leaders.
Hey there, welcome to the Xperience podcast. I'm Brian Weatherford. I'll be your host. Today here in studio, we have one of our Venturex members to share their story, both their personal story and their business story, and how they got to where they are today. The name of our guest is this man right here, Mr. Chance Holder. Chance, welcome to the show, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much for having me.
You know, I need to mention this off the bat. We're going to get into your business here in a second, but you are the Director of Sales for SVS-VISTEK, correct?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
All right. Well, we're going to get all into that here in a little bit, but I want to back up just a little bit, get a little bit about your personal background. Professionally, what have you been up to?
Yeah, so since I graduated from the University of Texas with an English degree, I scrounged around as a young professional, and I tried to find a sales position in multiple different industries like young salesmen do. And when I was lucky enough to find my way into computer vision, machine vision cameras, I joined a company and I was with them for 17 or so years. And about 4 to 5 years ago, I took a chance and joined SVS-VISTEK, and they had a little bit of a market niche with high resolution cameras as opposed to maybe more cost-effective volume machine vision camera business, and it was just a great opportunity for me to.
Well, a great opportunity indeed, but it sounds like the cameras you're with now aren't like the ones you used to be, but is it a smaller market with a bigger product?
I think it's a smaller market. If you look at maybe the pyramid type structure, high volume, low cost cameras, maybe medium, middle range, and the high end. So of course, the higher you go up that pyramid, the more costly the cameras get.
Absolutely.
Our cameras can range anywhere from $1,000 to $20,000. And I know in the cinema and the broadcast market, maybe that's a chump change.
Sure.
But for industrial cameras, that's a pretty costly camera.
So I'm really not that familiar with the industrial camera market. I mean, what type of industries use cameras, and more specifically, what are they using them for?
Well, maybe to get a little bit close to broadcast and cinema, one of the applications may be like computer CGI or computer graphic imagery, something called photogrammetry, where they'll put cameras around a ball or a dome and bring all those images together to make very high resolution broadcastable content.
So you mentioned earlier in the notes, I was looking at preparing for the show today. Shockingly, I really did prepare for the show. But you studied computer science and now computer vision. I mean, what's the difference between the two?
Yeah, so as a young man, I thought everything I wanted to do was going to be involving computers. I went to the university and took a few classes in computer science and realized it was very tough. Computer science, I think, gets more involved into the engineering, the programming, and the development of computer systems. Computer vision is simply our cameras sending various different types of images for different applications to computers. So then the computer systems can do the processing and make decisions for, let's say, factory inspection, pass, fail, go, no-go type applications.
So industry-wide, not just specifically with your company, but as an industry, is this a relatively new science?
I would say no. I would say there are some universities that have studies and programs involving computer vision, specifically machine vision. So I'd say it's been around for quite a while. It really got its start when people started doing high volume manufacturing of parts for the automotive industry.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's talk specifically more about SVS-VISTEK now. I mean, there's other companies. I mean, you were in this before you got here.
Right.
How did you make this decision? You were looking to make a change. Did they come after you? Did you go to them? Or how did you two get together?
I think it was a little bit of both. I met a gentleman named Hendrik Ilsby, who was the chief commercial officer, and he was based out of Germany. He was looking for someone to help him out with sales on the North American side. I had been a sales manager for my former company, and it kind of came together. I was approaching the age of 40 or just turned 40, and so I thought to myself, do I want to stick with my current company for my entire career, or do I want to take a shot at some new technology? So again, there are lots of companies and camera manufacturers in the machine vision world that make high volume or manufacture high volume cameras that are more cost effective and low cost. I was looking at this as an opportunity for us to make some more higher revenue sales to get higher resolution cameras into the computer vision market.
Gotcha. Well, sales is sales, regardless of the product. Now, I have a sales background. We could talk about it off the air, but I learned early on in life that the whole key thing to sales is belief in yourself and belief in your product. And the best salespeople, you got to be able to sell yourself before you can sell your product. The best way to sell yourself, maybe it's just old school, but I think not, is face-to-face interaction, being right there with people. But the world's kind of changed it here recently. The last couple of years, you can't have the face-to-face stuff anymore. Has that had any impact on you as a salesman?
It certainly has. Actually, I was interviewing for another salesman this morning, and one of the things we were talking about as we grow, and I was interviewing him, I was telling him that once I was able to come into the office here and once we opened this office here at Venturex, everything just picked up. The activity, the focus, the strategy, the development of my business has really just, and I've only been here for 6 or so months. Mm-hmm. The activity has really just gone through the roof for me personally. I'm a type of person who likes to get involved, do the Teams meetings, the Zoom calls, and all of that. But just 2 weeks ago, we had a trade show out in San Francisco, and just the opportunity to get back in front of customers again and the market opening up a little bit. It was all of these things are positive and pointing to a upshot in our business. Venturex has really helped that because maybe I tried to say this earlier. I'm the type of person, if I'm sitting at home in front of the computer and then the dog is walking by and
sure,
my better half has something for me to do, I get distracted fairly easy. I'm here in the office now. I'm 100% focused and really trying hard here. So,
well, let's be honest too. It's just beautiful facilities. I mean, the environment itself just kind of makes you feel important.
That's right. That's right.
Being able to do something like this. You just mentioned trade shows. I have a little background as well in trade shows on both ends, both as the person on this side of the booth and this side of the booth as a consumer. You mentioned how important it is to you as a salesperson to be able to interact with the customers. Did you find the same thing coming back from the customers? Are they happy to be able to get out there and interact firsthand as well?
I think so. I mean, the conversation when I would ask them and talk about it's great to be in front of people, they really focused on what their goal was there to do. I was looking for a little bit of more personal feedback, but for the most part, people seemed excited to get out, to be in front of, to be asking questions and talking with people. We had a really good trade show. It was called Photonics West, and we were just happy to do it.
To give me a little more insight. I want a couple of nuggets of the type of items that you have all sorts of stuff for the office environment, but give me a sampling.
Yeah. So, well, one of the things, so our cameras go into lots of different manufacturing and automation markets. So we're inspecting things like flat panels or TVs, wearable devices, cell phones. And when COVID kind of shut everything down and the work from home market really started to pick up, or people started buying stuff for home offices, the purchases of these devices really went through the roof. So since that's a big customer base for us, the people who sell inspection equipment to those factories, such as all the TV manufacturers and all the device makers, all of a sudden we started selling a lot of cameras to those systems. So it was an unfortunate benefit for us, or kind of a unique situation, but it really helped our sales.
It is unique because from time to time we come across businesses much like yourself that have a positive spin,
right,
for lack of a better way to put it, for COVID. But the other thing that's going on in the world these days, let me ask you this, if this is impacting you. We hear about all these supply chain issues. You can't get parts to make stuff anymore. Has that impacted you?
Yeah, that's, I have to say, talking to networking in the industry, talking to my competitors and friends in the industry, I feel like it's impacted our competitors and friends in the industry a lot more than it has us. But we have to keep in mind, for example, FPGAs, super chips, microchips that are used for the design of cameras, smart devices inside the cameras. Ours maybe are a little bit higher end because we've got a little bit higher end camera.
Sure.
And so most of our competitors are in the kind of small lower end or medium end of camera manufacturing. They're really struggling because everybody's trying to get those chips. We've fortunately been not as negatively impacted.
Well, that's good to know. Yeah. You're still at whatever end you're in the technical side, and technology is always changing. Do you run the risk of stuff? When does your stuff become outdated? I guess that's where I'm going. When am I going to say this stuff is old school? I've had it for a year now. It's time to upgrade. How does that work?
Yeah, for industrial cameras, you hope, and this is different than the consumer market, way different. You hope that a design of a camera can last you 5 to 10 years. That's because these systems may be big capital equipment machines for factories. And it takes a lot of development, debugging, and testing for these before they even take them to their customer. So lots of engineering man hours are spent on these machines. They really hope that they don't have to turn around and do this again in 2 or 3 years.
No.
Again, in the consumer market, if we're in the drone market or if we're in other types of markets, yeah, they may have to redesign every 3 or 4 years. But you really hope for an industrial camera. One of the reasons a customer may buy our type of camera that costs a lot more versus a Canon camera that they can get at Best Buy is they want that same camera to be delivered for 5 to 10 years.
Right.
The Canon is going to change drivers, mechanical, everything 2 or 3 years down the road.
When the cameras are purchased, I don't know the installation process and whatnot, but is there a training process as well? Do you actually provide training for people to use the systems?
We personally, when we take it to introduce it to a machine builder or system builder, there's lots of training and demos and support questions that go back and forth. We're generally not selling to the end user, so our customers most typically are doing that kind of end user on-site training.
Do you run in a situation where your customers are talking to their customers and their customers are saying, I really want a camera that can do this? And they say, hang on a sec. And then they come to you guys and say, is there any way you can make a camera that goes this route? Do you get some insight, so to speak, from the end user?
We do, and a lot of times oftentimes there are joint phone calls with the customer and their customer to kind of course we're trying to sell to the people who are going to buy to us, but in the end we have to convince their customers in some situations as well. So lots of times we get what's wrong with our cameras and good market feedback, negative market feedback, and we try to react from there.
That's what the top companies do.
Yeah.
International, how big's your market?
Yeah, so I heard the other day that the market size was a lot bigger than I thought it was. It's getting into the billions in terms of equipment sales. Our company is, I'm going to throw an approximate number. I think it's about 25 million euro worldwide. And, don't hold me to that. And maybe the financial people would not want me spouting those numbers. But in America, when I started, we were this is 4 years ago, we were less than $1 million in North American sales, and we're looking like we're going to be around 5 million this year. So,
and they're saying, where have you been? Our sales have increased dramatically because of you. I'll give you those props.
Yeah, thank you.
Could be a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Was there anything else we need to know? I mean, we're strictly on cameras right now. I mean, it's all cameras all the time. Are there any other items produced as well?
No, I mean, it's mostly cameras. We do sometimes do and sell or integrate the accessory items like the lens to screw onto the camera.
Mm-hmm.
You have to understand that, like, if we're going to sell to a microscope manufacturer that's buying 50 cameras a year, they've probably spent enough time, money, and effort to develop their own optical system. So again, customers sometimes ask us for lenses and we help them out with that, but it's mostly, I would say, 80% of our revenue is based on the cameras.
Well, again, put my old sales hat on. I mean, if you're selling something that's going to last for 10 years, you're always looking for new customers. What's the best way have you found to go out to find prospective customers?
Yeah, marketing opportunities like this definitely help. I do a lot of cold calling. I'm still very traditional, and you keep putting on your sales hat. As I said, we're interviewing sales guys. Maybe we can talk to you after this. But I do, like I said, I do a lot of research on LinkedIn, do a little bit of market study. I've been in the industry long enough to have a network base of contacts, and because of that, sometimes I get calls from potential customers. But there's no magic science, kind of traditional prospecting techniques, and then we also do get leads that come in from our website.
Well, as an old-time sales guy, it makes me feel pretty good to realize that trade shows and cold calling and face-to-face is still a thing.
Yep.
Even in the high-end technology world that you're in, it's
I'm sure
nice
you can find in my little notepad where I've done check marks for all the calls that I've made in the day. So
Well, we can talk off the air about the old days of using maps codes, but I know you don't have to go that route. But hey, for now, we're going to wind it up today. Appreciate you being on the show. Best of luck. Thank you for sharing your personal story, your professional story, your history here with this beautiful facility, Venturex, and how it just makes you feel good and makes you feel professional to get out there. We wish you continued success in everything you do.
Thanks for inviting me.
As always, folks, once again, thank you for being with us here today on the Venturex podcast. We appreciate it. Venture Experience podcast wouldn't be the same without you. Thanks for being here. Take care.
Venturex is a locally owned and globally connected portfolio of co-working spaces providing businesses with on-demand office space and services to run their company. To book a tour, visit www.venturex.com. When you need a space for your next business, X marks the spot.